Magazine.
Attorney General Meese says he won't quit. Jimmy Swaggart defies his church in a bloody day on the West Bank and Gaza.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. I'm Connie Chung, sitting in for Tom Brokaw, who is off tonight. Embattled Attorney General Edwin Meese tonight is defying all calls for him to resign, despite increasing pressure and scathing criticism from not only Democrats on Capitol Hill, but also from some members of his own party. President Reagan today stood behind his friend of 20 years. But as NBC's White House correspondent Chris Wallace reports, Meese is now fending off mounting attacks sparked by yesterday's dramatic resignation of two senior Justice Department officials.
It was a determined Ed Meese who met with reporters late today, making it clear he won't be forced out by the resignation of top aides.
Are you thinking about calling it quits, sir?
No, not at all. There's no reason to. The management team is very strong and everything's going along well. So business is operating as usual at the Justice Department.
But Meese's statement did nothing to silence the steady drumbeat of calls for the Attorney General to step down. On Capitol Hill, Democrats attacked with a vengeance.
If the top people in justice no longer trust Mr. Meese, how can the American people?
I think it's only a matter of time before the Attorney General will leave office.
Senate Majority Leader Byrd was even tougher, calling Meese the crown jewel of the sleaze factor in Reagan administration history. And Republicans were also dismayed by the spectacle of conservative Meese appointees suddenly bailing out.
The real issue is whether the Justice Department can fulfill its function and do its job.
But Meese continues to have support where it counts. The president making it clear he has no intention of asking the Attorney General to leave.
I have every confidence in him. He's been a friend for 20 years, and I'm not going to comment any further on what is going on there.
Reagan aides say the president's support is rock hard. That despite yesterday's resignation by conservatives, Mr. Reagan believes the opposition is basically political.
Reagan sees Ed Meese as a fellow conservative, a soulmate. And finally, Reagan sees Ed Meese as a target, as a victim from some of the same people who are heaping abuse on Ed Meese are also the president's enemies.
Still, some of the president's men say privately they'd love to see Meese go and hope the Attorney General will give in to the mounting pressure, removing a tough issue for Republicans in the '88 campaign. Today, Democratic candidate Jesse Jackson condemned
the growing sleaze factor in this administration, with Mr. Meese going back and forth to court every day as a defendant as opposed to a prosecutor.
And Vice President Bush, who has already said he's tired of being embarrassed by government scandals, did not sound happy about Meese's latest troubles.
But it seems to me that the Justice Department has to be above reproach. It troubles me, no question about that.
Meese came to the White House late today to meet with Chief of Staff Howard Baker. But officials here say they discuss routine business, not Meese's troubles, and that unless he's indicted, Meese will stay on. Connie?
Thank you, Chris. Edwin Meese has been reeling in controversy ever since he first came to Washington. As NBC's law correspondent Carl Stern reports, it is one man in particular who's been at the root of his latest troubles. Carl?
Connie, when Criminal Division Chief William Weld quit yesterday, he told staff members privately his first reason was the Attorney General's relationship with Bob Wallach. It is Meese's friends who have gotten him into trouble, not his enemies. Meese's dealings with University of California Law School classmate E. Robert Wallach is his biggest problem, according to Justice Department officials. It was Wallach who allegedly used his friendship with Meese to get contracts for and money from the scandal-ridden WedTech Corporation. Meese, at Wallach's request, promoted an Iraqi oil pipeline deal, even though a note to Meese implied that illegal bribes might be paid. And Wallach set out to raise money for Meese himself, including a stock account that Meese knew was growing faster than his own share could reasonably generate. Special Prosecutor James McKay regarded that as a possible bribe. McKay has been within an inch of seeking Meese's indictment for that, according to officials. Meanwhile, the Attorney General's wife is being investigated in connection with a $40,000 a year job as a development director with the Multiple Sclerosis Society. Investigators want to know whether the salary is being subsidized by Meese's friends and a contractor who may have done business with the Justice Department. A lawyer for the foundation that employs Ursula Meese says it's all perfectly proper.
She could have gotten many jobs in this town without any difficulty at all, but MS wanted her because of her experience in this field and her record as a good worker.
Meese has been in trouble since his confirmation was delayed more than a year, while a special prosecutor investigated complaints that Meese found government jobs for people who had helped him out of personal financial scrapes. Independent counsel Jacob Stein declined to prosecute, but said he would not comment on Meese's ethics, propriety, or fitness for office. Since then, Meese has also been in hot water for failing to fill out financial disclosure forms properly, failing to get rid of stock he was supposed to, and, according to some, giving Oliver North time to shred vital evidence in the Iran-Contra scandal. Those who quit yesterday said the cumulative weight of all this had just become too much. Connie?
Carl, thank you. Later on NBC Nightly News, John Chancellor will have some thoughts about Ed Meese and the man he works for. And Robert Bazell's special segment, Is Alcoholism Really a Disease?
Your daughter's wedding.
At last.
And you've got dirty dentures.
I just soaked them.
Soaking's not enough. Brushing with Denture Cream Denture toothpaste cleans almost twice as clean.
Twice as clean.
Brush with Denture Cream or Denture Gel.
Does car shopping confuse you? If you've shopped, and I have, you'll find the one place where the confusion ends is your Buick dealer. That's why I just bought a brand new Buick Regal. Regal is actually priced under T-Bird and Cougar. The new Regal just looks like it costs thousands more. So don't get confused. Shop where you like, but start at your Buick dealer. The car is Regal, but the price sure isn't.
The great American road belongs to Buick.
This Easter, you can send flowers in another green glass vase, or send something worth keeping. Teleflora's ceramic spring basket bouquet. Gorgeous flowers in a charming ceramic basket. To send one anywhere, just call your florist and say, Teleflora.
Jimmy Swaggart has decided to defy the national leaders of the Assemblies of God Church, one day after they barred him from preaching for at least 1 year. As NBC's Kenley Jones reports, Swaggart plans to resume preaching only 3 months from the February day he stepped down from the pulpit after confessing what he called a moral failure.
He is anticipating being in the pulpit on May the 22nd. That's correct.
Swaggart's lawyer, William Treby, said the evangelist's decision is based on the belief that his fellow ministers in Louisiana had the authority to suspend him for 3 months instead of a year.
So you have a question of the proper interpretation of the Constitution and bylaws.
But last year, there was no question in Swaggart's mind about what punishment Jim Baker should be given for sexual misconduct.
Well, with anyone in the Assemblies of God, has nothing to do with Jim Baker, it's with anyone, myself, whomever it may be. Our rulings are that he places himself, if he wants rehabilitation, he places himself under, or he is placed under another minister. He does not preach for the period of a year.
If Jimmy Swaggart is not able to preach for a year, obviously the ministry is built around him, and the ministry would certainly suffer.
The ministry has already suffered. More than 100 employees have been laid off, and all construction at the complex stopped because of uncertainty over the ministry's future.
I would like for you to sit down and do the very best that you can do financially. I want you to write the largest check that you can.
Swaggart's son, Donnie, has made fundraising appeals on the ministry's television program while his father has been absent. But the audience appeal of the program is questionable without the elder Swaggart's presence. He needs to get back on the air as soon as possible. Swaggart's problem is that television stations may not be anxious to carry the program if he withdraws or is expelled from the Assemblies of God Church.
He should not be on the air May 22nd. My feeling is that he should have submitted himself to the decision of the Assemblies of God.
Swaggart says the ministry is not his, but God's. He says he has faith that it will survive, no matter what. Kenley Jones, NBC News.
With the solid victory of Michael Dukakis over Jesse Jackson in Connecticut's primary, Dukakis has pulled ahead in the delegate count, even though he has not pushed Jackson out of the spotlight. The NBC News delegate count shows Dukakis with 676 to Jesse Jackson's 652. On Monday, they were tied. Albert Gore is third with 369 delegates, and Paul Simon has 187. Today, Jackson met in Washington with 50 of the party's top leaders at his request. He talked about his campaign and his plans for a Jackson administration. And as NBC's Ken Bodie reports tonight, the party leaders listened to what he had to say, respectfully.
Jackson is seeking to raise what he calls the comfort level of the Washington Democratic establishment, which is nervous at the prospect that he might be nominated.
It's also to get more support and more help in critical policy areas. After all, I'm preparing to govern.
Today's meeting included members of previous Democratic administrations from Truman to Carter. Among those invited, former Secretary of Defense Clark Clifford, a pillar of the Washington establishment. Not all supporters. Jackson characterized some as advisors, others just came to listen. Some experienced and skeptical Democrats say the press and his opponents have been treating Jackson too gingerly.
He has not been asked the tough question, what did he mean when he said Viva Castro, Viva Che Guevara? To my judgment, he has never even backed off of his support for Louis Farrakhan.
Others have suggested that Jackson's past won't bear scrutiny. Former Democratic Chairman John White, who has signed on to help with Jackson's convention operations, addressed that.
You can vote against Jesse Jackson because you don't agree with his positions. But you shouldn't vote against him for some hoped-up reason that he's got something in the past that we don't know about. Because if he's got anything in his past, it would be in front of us now.
Warming up for next month's New York primary, where he will portray Jackson's Middle East policies as outside the party's mainstream, Albert Gore Jr. nominated himself as the man to take off the gloves on Jackson.
He hasn't served a single day in the national government or had a single day's experience in foreign policy.
Gore's charge of inexperience made its way to Jackson's meeting.
Reverend Jackson can bring to his administration, should it turn out to be a Jackson administration, the best brains that the party and the country have to offer.
Clifford made it clear he has not endorsed Jackson, but has been talking about defense policy with him for some time.
I haven't been particularly surprised by any position that I've read about in his attitude toward defense.
Times are changing for Jesse Jackson. As a serious potential nominee, his policies, his background, his experience will undergo a greater scrutiny. Jackson hopes to use the attention he has now to cross a threshold of acceptability within the Washington Beltway, where in some precincts there is still abject fear that his nomination would cause defeat for the Democrats from the White House through the Congress to the courthouses. Ken Bodie, NBC News, Washington.
It was 20 years ago that members of the Kerner Commission wrote a report saying the United States was moving toward two separate but unequal societies, one black, the other white. Today in Memphis, 4 members of the commission had a reunion, and they agreed that after 20 years, that conclusion holds true today.
In North Carolina, Honda lawnmowers are assembled from the wheels up. Then the final critical step, the Clara Johnson test. If Clara pulls and it starts, it's a Honda.
Ship it. I can't marry you.
Why? I'm only 6 years younger.
Oh, I don't care about that.
What do you care about? My hair? My tie?
Your breakfast.
This?
Yeah, it's old-fashioned.
Hey, I'm an old guy.
All those years of sugar and preservatives.
You're right.
Nutri-Grain whole wheat flakes. No sugar added, no preservatives.
That's good. Now will you marry me?
I thought you were 5 years younger.
Dedicated to the ones we love.
Walter, this is Mother. Mother, Walter wants to use the phone.
Fine, right there.
Second-class phones, they're making second-class phones.
Oh, that silly phone. Use our AT&T phone in there.
For phones that work like phones are supposed to work, stick with the first-class phones of AT&T.
It's okay. It works.
Introducing A1 poultry sauce with herbs, spices, and fruit, meant just for chicken. So A1 poultry sauce makes the most of chicken any way you make it.
A bloody day of protest on the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip. 4 Palestinians were killed, 50 wounded. NBC's Martin Fletcher reports on today's widespread demonstrations.
The toughest ever Israeli clampdown on the occupied territories didn't work. The day's violence ended with one of the uprising's highest tolls of dead and wounded. From the Gaza Strip, these are the only pictures available because Israel closed the area to all reporters except those escorted by the army. No Arab was allowed to leave his house. Arrests continued, 1,000 in the past week, many without charges. The aim, to stop widespread violence by Palestinian Arabs in support of Israeli Arabs who held a general strike today and widespread demonstrations of their own. For the Israeli Arabs, it's Land Day, a protest against Israeli confiscation of Arab land 12 years ago. And this year, they're supporting the Palestinian uprising. There's been a debate among Israeli Arabs for weeks about how to demonstrate in support of the uprising, peacefully or violently. The young wanted violence, to support openly the PLO with the PLO flag. Older Arabs forced the young to obey Israeli laws. Israeli Arabs live a dilemma.
You know, it's difficult to live the two kinds of life. We must feel like them, we must go with them, we must cry and support them.
Another blow to the Palestinian movement came today when police closed the Palestinian press service for 6 months, silencing an alternative source of information from the occupied lands. Gula Cohen has long called for limiting press freedom.
I'm not for freedom of the press, I'm for the freedom of Israel.
Support is increasing in Israel for tougher measures to end the uprising. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, Taiba, Israel.
Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Benjamin Netanyahu, resigned today. He said the American-Israeli alliance, often demonstrated at the United Nations, had been shaken. Netanyahu cited a meeting last Saturday between Secretary of State George Shultz and 2 American Palestinians. He said that meeting effectively breached a U.S. commitment not to negotiate with the PLO. Sources in Panama tell NBC News that the government of General Manuel Noriega has just received a much-needed infusion of $5 million in cash. The money, taxes, and other fees came as routine payments from American corporations. Noriega used the money to pay the Army and civil servants. In Panama, supermarkets reopened today, the first major break in a 10-day-old general strike aimed at forcing Noriega to resign. The opposition said the strike would continue against other businesses. But more economic relief is in sight. Banks are scheduled to reopen for limited withdrawals in 9 days. In Washington, the House of Representatives tonight approved a $48 million package of non-lethal aid for the Nicaraguan Contras. It was described as a show of support for last week's temporary truce and for talks to achieve a permanent ceasefire. The vote was 345 to 70. And the Senate Foreign Relations Committee today recommended full Senate ratification of the Soviet-American Treaty on Medium-Range Missiles. The committee vote was 17 to 2, with Helms of North Carolina and Pressler of South Dakota voting against. Senate debate on the treaty is scheduled to begin in mid-April.
Got a lot of eggs there.
Oh, you know what I always say. Easter ain't Easter without eggs. Just look at this day. It's going to be a real great Easter.
Smoke all these yourself?
You know what I always say. Easter ain't Easter without a ham. Hey, didn't I put my eggs there?
That's the FTD Easter basket bouquet.
Real nice. You know what I always say.
Easter ain't Easter without flowers. The FTD Easter basket bouquet. Bright spring flowers in a colorful Easter basket.
These mountains exist only in a computer. They were created from nothing but numbers, using a special kind of mathematics called fractal geometry. Developed at IBM Research, fractals give scientists a new way to look at nature, to study long-range pollution patterns, or explore the Earth's oil reserves. Fractal geometry, another innovation from IBM that helps people understand how the world adds up.
Mom sure know how to make life easier. Mine was always there for me. Like another mom I know. This mom, Phillips Milk of Magnesia, M-O-M. The laxative that helps your body work naturally for easy overnight relief. Would Mom be harsh? No. And Mom's even easier to take with this dosage cup. See? Mom knows just what you need. So when you run into trouble, remember, nobody treats you better than Mom.
How many days a week do you take it?
I take aspirin twice a week. I have a touch of arthritis, so I take it often.
My doctor told me to take aspirin.
For the millions who take aspirin more than once a week and are concerned about aspirin stomach upset, there's a new and better aspirin product. Try Buffered Bufferin. Better than plain aspirin because it's 100% aspirin plus 3 buffers to help protect against stomach upset aspirin can cause.
It is better.
New Tri-Buffered Bufferin if you take aspirin more than once a week.
Since President Reagan took office, 59 administration officials have resigned after being linked to scandals. They were among more than 110 senior administration officials who have been accused of unethical or illegal activities. So Attorney General Edwin Meese may not be unique, but as John Chancellor notes in his commentary tonight, Meese's relationship with the president is. John?
Connie? You know, you can understand why Ronald Reagan is standing by Ed Meese. They're old friends. It is much harder to understand why Ed Meese is sticking to Ronald Reagan. Much harder to understand why one old friend would do so much damage to another. The final months of the Reagan administration are being dishonored by Ed Meese's continuing troubles. It's a terrible embarrassment, and some people close to both the president and Meese are saddened by it. The San Diego Union is a powerful newspaper which has always been a friend of Ronald Reagan's. Last month it said, given the dismal litany of poor judgment and ethically questionable activities disclosed by current and previous investigations, how can Mr. Meese continue to carry out his duties effectively, even if he is exonerated of any criminal misconduct? Would not the president and the nation be served by Mr. Meese's stepping down? When a paper as supportive of Mr. Reagan as the San Diego Union says that, you've got to pay attention. Yet, there sits Ed Meese. The president is being humiliated, the Justice Department is being destroyed, and the Democrats have a campaign issue against the Republicans which will last all year. Ed Meese owes his whole career to the loyalty of his old friend Ronald Reagan. There is one last thing he could do for his benefactor. He could resign now, before the law works its way through his tangled affairs. That gift from an old pal would give the president some peace in his final months of office.
Oh, look at the time. I gotta get some Z's.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Nitol helps you feel drowsy so you can get your Z's.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
There's a big company that makes these and a small one that makes these. Why would they both do business with IBM? Well, the company that makes these wants a computer company big enough to get them where they want to go. Bon voyage, kiddo. And the company that makes these needs a company with an eye for the smallest details. Small businesses have big reasons for calling IBM. Big businesses even have small reasons to call IBM. But smart businesses have every reason to call IBM.
IBM, the bigger picture.
I'm Bryant Gumbel. Tomorrow morning on Today, we'll check out the Justice Department problems of Ed Meese.
I'm Maria Shriver, also Sophia Loren and Demi Moore.
Join us tomorrow morning on Today.
I've been writing a lot of stories about aspirin lately, but if you think you've heard all the news about aspirin, think again. Clinical tests on headaches show there's a better aspirin formula. It's Anacin. Listen, the tests show that compared to regular strength aspirin, Anacin provides a more effective level of headache relief. Better relief. The latest good news about aspirin is Anacin.
Anacin, a better aspirin formula.
What's the best kind of fruit? The kind that's fresh, moist, and plump. That's why Sunsweet are my favorite kind of pitted prunes. Moist, plump, and fresh. Sunsweet, because the best prunes are fresh prunes.
On special segment tonight, alcoholism. Is it a disease? If not, what is it? For 30 years, alcoholism has been widely considered a disease in the United States, but some experts disagree, and the issue even has been raised in a case now before the Supreme Court. NBC's Robert Bazell examines the scientific evidence in a controversy that could affect the treatment of many of the nation's 10 million alcoholics.
Throws it away. Chris Mullin plays basketball for the Golden State Warriors. After alcoholism threatened his career, he talked about the difficulty of entering treatment.
I learned now that it was mostly my disease speaking. All the negative points was my disease telling me not to go.
The disease is a family disease.
Actress Suzanne Summers on The Donahue Show introduced her father, sister, and 2 brothers as recovered alcoholics.
This disease tried to ruin this family, and it individually tried to kill everyone who's sitting here and almost succeeded.
The idea that alcoholism is a disease as opposed to problem behavior is widespread in the United States. The American Medical Association called it a disease in 1956. But a small but growing number of researchers say it is not, and they say that calling it a disease may be harmful.
The idea that alcohol can take control of your body no matter what you do, no matter what choices you make. can be a self-fulfilling prophecy and can make it more likely that this will occur.
Alcoholics Anonymous, may I help you?
Much of the American view that alcoholism is a disease comes from Alcoholics Anonymous.
Well, you're not a bad person. You're a sick person. You want to be a well person.
There has never been scientific proof that alcoholism is caused by some malfunction of the body. Several studies have suggested there is an inherited factor that makes some people more susceptible to alcoholism.
If the risk for alcoholism in men in the general population is about 10%, then the risk for sons of alcoholics is perhaps as high as 40-ish%.
In his laboratory, Dr. Schuckett is trying to find out what might be inherited to put some people at higher risk of alcoholism. Young men, some the sons of alcoholics, drink measured amounts of alcohol, then perform a series of tasks. Schuckett says the sons of alcoholics have a different response than the others.
It appears as if they're not feeling as much effect of booze.
Schuckett and other scientists say that while this genetic evidence indicates alcoholism might be a disease, it does not prove it. In many countries, alcoholism is not considered a disease. Many British doctors say it is more a matter of choice.
It's a bit like cigarette smoking. We don't consider cigarette smoking a disease. We know that cigarette smoking and dependence on cigarettes can cause lung cancer, can cause bronchitis, can cause heart attacks, but we don't say that people have got cigarettitis in the way that we say that people have got alcoholism.
Treating alcoholics in the United States has become a big business. At St. Joseph's Hospital in Burbank, California, patients are charged $12,000 for a 4-week course of alcoholism treatment, which includes exercises, psychotherapy, and lectures. Usually insurance pays. This billion-dollar-a-year industry could shrink drastically if alcoholism were not regarded as a disease. Proponents of the disease approach say such a change would discourage alcoholics who need treatment from getting it.
If you view this thing as a moral matter and approach it as though you are blaming somebody or finding them guilty of some act, some criminal act, that the practical effect of this in the real world is to stiffen their resistance to getting well.
This is a group of compulsive shoppers. The idea that problem behavior can be a disease has spread recently from alcoholism to many other areas.
Compulsive gamblers have created an organization modeled exactly on the basis of AA. People get up and say, I'm out of control of my gambling and I've got a disease. So my question is that inherited? Should that be treated medically?
So a major part of the debate about alcoholism is if it is considered a disease, what other behaviors should also be considered diseases, and at what cost to society? Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
And that's our news. I'm Connie Chung in New York. I'll see you again tomorrow night. Thank you for joining us, and for all of us at NBC News, good night.
Aaron's way. Aaron wants a driver's license. The problem is,
I do not have any identification.
How do people know who you are?
I tell them that I am Aaron Miller.
Then on a special Highway to Heaven, Bob the Angel Hope guest stars.
It's gonna be a tough assignment.
You're the angel. Wing it.
And the Bronx Zoo premieres at its new night and time to end an exciting evening of drama tonight.
Coming up next on